If you ask me, I'm quite fine, being an ordinary person doing what's right. Yesterday at the football game, a little girl asked me my name. She said, sir, I've seen you before, tell me who are you? I said, I am a legend that you never heard of before. She said, I am a lion, but you never heard me roar. I am a hero that nobody celebrates, but if one person remembers my name, that means on the ocean of fame I'm an unknown sailor. I'm the percussionist playing with the wailers, the one with the shaker, the mover and shaker. My name wasn't on the front of the paper, but me not cater. Much more than the worker, the work is greater. Creation glorifies creator. So all deeds done are in the name of my maker. I am a legend that you probably never hear about. Words from the lion's mouth. I am a hero that nobody celebrates, but if one person remembers my name, give praise, that means I made a change. Story of my life, ordinary person just like you. If you take a look inside, you see the great things that people do. We're out there changing lives day and night, day in, day out. BBC don't show it, CNN don't show it. He's out.
In case you don't know us, you're just twisting that dial away and managed to bump into us. This is ZIZ Radio from out of St. Kitts.
PowerTalk, SKELEC's new electrifying 15-minute radio program, features on ZIZ every first Wednesday of each month. Tune in for the latest information on what's happening at SKELEC. Learn more about doing business with us and the services we offer. PowerTalk, powered by SKELEC.
Every first and third Wednesday at 9:30 a.m.
Good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of PowerTalk. My name is Patrice Harris, the Corporate Communications Manager at your wonderful number one utility company in St. Kitts and Nevis, SKELEC. PowerTalk is a radio program brought to you by the St. Kitts Electricity Company Limited, where we take the opportunity to update the public on the latest events at SKELEC and also to engage in some sensitization as it relates to all things electricity related. Today is the 2nd of June. It's the first Wednesday of June, and that's why you're hearing my lovely voice on the radio today. Thank you to all of those persons who tune in regularly. Thank you to all of our fans on Facebook, on YouTube, and who are listening from home and abroad. Today's topic is related to hurricane preparedness. And as you know, we are in June, which is the start of the hurricane season. And as a utility company, we have to do our part in educating and sensitizing the public as to the realities of what a hurricane brings. Having been an individual who would have experienced a major hurricane back in 2017, Hurricane Irma, I don't take hurricane preparation lightly. To be honest, sometimes it makes me a bit jittery whenever storms do come around. But as a company, there are certain things that we want the public to be mindful of. And I'm going to start with information that's coming from the National Hurricane Center, from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. There are several named storms for this 2021 hurricane season, and I'm going to list the names of these storms. There is Anna, Bill, Claudette, Danny, Elsa, Fred, Grace, Henry, Ida, Julianne, Kate, Larry, Mindy, Nicholas, Odette, Peter, Rose, Sam, Teresa, Victor, and Wanda. So I'll call those names again. Anna, Bill, Claudette, Danny, Elsa, Fred, Grace, Henry, Ida, Julianne, Kate, Larry, Mindy, Nicholas, Odette, Peter, Rose, Sam, Teresa, Victor, and Wanda. Now, the National Hurricane Center they have made certain predictions about this hurricane season. They are predicting that this hurricane season will be another above normal season. Therefore, the forecasters have predicted a 60% chance of an above normal season and a 30% chance of a near normal season and a 10% chance of a below normal season. However, the experts do not anticipate the historic level of storm activity as they would have witnessed in 2020. So with what the National Hurricane Center has predicted, it is important that as a company, we remain prepared, and as a public, that you do your part to become prepared as well. And I just want to run down a bit of the activities that SKELEC engages in on a regular basis, on an annual basis, to ensure that we are prepared for the hurricane season. So internally, from about March, we start to put together our hurricane preparedness plan. Now, our hurricane preparedness plan is our framework, our guidelines as to the different steps that we need to take to ensure that we are prepared. It outlines what happens during a storm, and particularly what happens during the aftermath of a storm, especially as it relates to the restoration. Now, we don't take it lightly. We recognize that as an electricity company, there are certain steps that we need to take to ensure, one, safety of our staff as well as of the public, and two, to ensure that we can facilitate restoration as quickly and as safely as possible. We liaise with the National Emergency Agency, NEMA. We actually present them with our plan. They advise us as to what's best. We also engage in the purchasing of hurricane supplies, be it for our staff and the additional infrastructural items that will be needed for restoration. We devise our communication response plans. We designate or select rather a hurricane coordinator who would be responsible for pulling different teams together and ensure that our response restoration is a coordinated effort. We secure our buildings. We also, as of last year when we initiated the automatic response system, or IVR, that is one of the systems that we ensure remains up so that when the customers call during the storm as well as after, that we're able to understand what the different needs are, where the faults are in the field, what's happening with our customers, so that we can make an appropriate response. So as a company, there are lots of efforts that we put into ensuring that we are prepared for hurricanes. Resilience. Now, I remember the last time I was here, I had Mr. Greer from New Generation Engineering, and I had Mr. Colin Brown, our Control and Operations Manager, and we were speaking about resilience. And one of the projects that we're doing to ensure that our systems become a lot more resilient, they're able to withstand the different challenges that will come about from a storm, is the underground project that we are currently implementing in the Bayfords area on our Bayfords feeder. So you will recognize from as close as Avec all the way up to Milliken, there's currently some infrastructural work taking place. It does include some disruption to the road and to traffic, And that is because SKELEC is improving the resilience of that particular area, that particular feeder. It's one of the last feeders that is still overhead, which means that as there have been in times gone by when we have seen storms, etc., and lines go down, poles go down, it creates an outage. And with this type of underground work that is being done, it reduces the type of damage and outages that would be caused to a majority of customers. So if you would have tuned into our last program, they would have spoken in depth about that. But our Bayfoot's Underground project is one of the steps that SKELEC is taking to improve its resilience. We would have also been conducting tree cutting, tree trimming heavily for the past couple of months. Trees in our lines are one of the major causes of outages whenever a storm occurs or whenever there is high wind. Obviously, the trees are swaying back and forth, the branches break, and when the branches break and they fall on the wire, that causes a disruption to our customers. So we have been engaging in tree cutting. You might be thinking that, okay, I'm seeing trees in my lines where I live. It's not that we are not taking these trees seriously, but also remember that we have our infrastructure that runs in very remote areas, that those trees have to be cut in the wires as well. So we have been doing extensive tree cutting throughout the island in many different areas, in parts that you don't even know exist, where they're doing tree cutting, because obviously when hurricane season comes around, we know that it does come with high winds, and that would cause an outage when these trees break, when the branches break, and the poles and the wires go down. We have been engaging in a lot of maintenance work, maintenance on our different feeders, especially throughout the week. You'll see our maintenance schedule that goes out. It's not that we want to cause any level of disruption to our customers, but we want to ensure that once we keep our equipment, our infrastructure, our grid maintained, that it is more likely to be able to withstand the challenges or the climatic changes that will come about during the hurricane season, the high winds. And I want people to realistically understand that there's only so much preparation you can do for a certain type of storm. So if we're talking about a Category 5 storm, there's only so much preparation that you can do for that because of the type of devastation and destruction that is associated with a Cat 5 storm. So we do the best that we can to ensure that our system can stay up for as long as it possibly can, which includes tree cutting and maintaining our grids. We're doing a lot of persistent maintenance on our engines, our generators. If you are ever to speak with anyone who works at the power plant, they will tell you about the type of work that they are doing to ensure that our engines, our generators, our cats, that they stay up and we keep the country powered for as long as is reasonably possible. During a storm, I don't want our customers to get the misunderstanding that we power off. We don't power off. The system will start to, whenever there are different types of challenges, it will go down on its own. For example, the outside infrastructure, but we don't stay in the plant and start to power off. So one of the major issues, as I would have mentioned earlier, is about the type of safety that we want to engage in. We are not we want to engage in, that we do engage in. We're not going to put any of our men at risk to go out during a treacherous storm to start any restoration work, especially when their safety, we know for sure that their safety will be compromised. So safety is one of our number one priorities at SKELEC. Now, as a customer, there are several things that you can do to ensure that you are safe as well during the storm. You know all of the things that you need to do outside of the electrical safety, getting your your canned goods, checking your house, checking for leaks, ensuring that you have the shutters, ensuring that you have batteries and flashlights, you have gas for a stove if you have a gas stove, that you're not running out, because you don't want to be caught in any unfortunate situations during a storm. Having an evacuation plan for your home, sitting down with your family and planning and preparing for a hurricane is very important, because let's face it, we live on an island, we live in the Caribbean, and the chances of being hit by a storm are very, very high. Now, whenever there is a storm passing, it is reasonable to expect that there will be an outage of power. It is reasonable to expect. And as such, whenever the power does go out, we want our customers to unplug your large appliances and electronics, so as to prevent any power surges when the electricity does come back. If you don't do this, you risk damage to your equipment and fire hazards, electrical fire hazards in your home. So when the power goes out during a storm, and which you should reasonably expect and prepare for, ensure that you unplug your large appliances. It might actually be a good practice. I used to see my father do it, just to switch off the breakout in the house, the main switch. Generators. I know that we in the Caribbean, we have now adopted the practice of having generators in our homes, because we know that there are threats of power outages, and also because of hurricanes that we experience from time to time. Now, there are 3 don'ts that I want you to bear in mind as it relates to generators. Do not run generators in your house. Don't have the generators inside your house running. Don't run the generator directly into your home. Don't plug the generator directly into your home's main electrical system. Whenever you are about to install a generator or you purchase a generator, ensure that you have a certified electrician assist with that process. Run the generator outside in a well-ventilated area, and plug individual appliances directly into your generator. Now, after a storm, we've spoken about the generators and what happens when the power goes out. After a storm, it is your responsibility to check to see if your weatherhead is damaged. Now, some persons might say to themselves that they don't know what a weatherhead is. You should be engaging with your electrician of your home so that they can tell you where your weatherhead is located. It is important after a storm to check to see if there is damage to this weatherhead. If there is damage to this weatherhead, it is also your responsibility to contact a certified electrician so that they can conduct that repair. SKELEC will not be able to restore power to your home if your weatherhead is damaged. And I'm telling you this from first-hand experience, having experienced a hurricane in St. Thomas in 2017. Many persons struggled to get electricity restored to their home because their weatherhead was damaged. And bear in mind that the weatherhead on your property is not the responsibility of SKELEC. As such, it is your responsibility as the customer to, 1, determine whether or not there is damage, and even if you are unsure, to contact a certified electrician to check to see if there is damage and to make the necessary repairs. Now, as it relates to preparing for a storm as well, it is important that you clear your yard of any debris. One of the other reasons why we would have outages is because of debris flying, and they hit our poles or they hit our wires, our cables, and they go down. So it is important that within your yard, I know many persons might have barrels or drums or old items that they're no longer using anymore. It is important to secure them, because when the wind becomes high, this can cause damage to your property, to our electrical infrastructure as well, and we want to minimize these types of damages. So it is important to secure the debris in your yard. Now, I want to touch base on what to reasonably expect when an outage occurs or when a storm passes and SKELEC has to engage in restoration work, our restoration is done quite systematically. One of the first things I will always say to customers is that restoration is done by feeders. And I encourage customers to know what feeder serves your community. From time to time, there might be some slight changes as it relates to the communities that are served by these feeders. But for the most part, overall, they tend to remain the same. So as a customer, it is important for you to know what feeder serves your community. And if you're unsure, you can always inquire by way of using our emergency hotline, 465-2013. Now, when a storm happens and SKELEC has to engage in restoration, our restoration is quite systematic, as I would have mentioned earlier. We begin by restoring what we will call our essential services first. So we'll restore, if it's an island-wide, we'll restore power to the plant, obviously, so that we can begin the restoration of the rest of the island. But we do it based on the priorities and essential areas. So hospitals, the defense posts, police stations, health centers and health clinics, all of these priority areas will be restored first. After that, we start to go into the feeders where we are able to restore power quickly to a large amount of persons. And then we go on to the individual smaller faults. So you would recognize, and one of the things I will also say to you, that it becomes easier to restore certain feeders as opposed to others because of how they are designed infrastructurally. And that is why we're doing work to ensure that we are improving our feeders, we're improving the electrical grid. And so I want you to, when there is a storm, call our emergency hotline. Call 465-2013 and state exactly what is happening. Tell us where you live, what you witnessed, what you heard, around what time. That really helps us with the restoration process and to be able to prioritize which parts we are going to tackle first. If you are not able to get through on the 465-2013 line, there is our automated call-in service, 465-2000, our automated call-in service. Sometimes I know customers get frustrated when they call because they're expecting to hear a person. But this is a technology that we would have introduced so that customers, when you call 465-2013 and you don't get through, you can leave a message, you can leave a voicemail on the 465-2000 and our technicians are able to hear. Now, when you leave this message, just as when you're speaking to one of our operators in the fault section, we want you to be clear, we want you to be precise. What did you see? What did you hear? Where are you? What time did it take place? This allows us to be able to make our judgment calls when it comes to restoring power. I know I don't have much time left, but I always make time for our listeners and for all of the persons who are interested in calling in. Please, if you have a comment that you want to make or if there's a question that you want to ask, don't be afraid to call in. I'll try my best. I always try my best to give you a response. But as we continue with this morning's program, do we have callers?
Not at the moment.
Okay, as we continue with this morning's program, I just want to stress the importance of customers being prepared for the hurricane season and what you should reasonably expect when a storm passes, when there is an outage, what you should reasonably expect. The first thing that some people like to say, which is a bit disheartening for us at SKELEC, is that, oh, we turned off the power. We don't do that. Please take it out of your head that we turn off power. Okay, we don't do that. We don't do that. And one of the other things that customers like to say is that we're taking too long to restore the power. There is a priority listing. The restoration is done in a very systematic way. I really want you to take the opportunity to call, to ask your questions. I want to hear what customers are thinking, even if you can tell us about what your hurricane preparation has been looking like, what you are doing or what you intend to do. Because hurricanes are very sad part of our reality, living in the Caribbean, living on an island, and it is important that as the general public, we do our best to remain prepared for these hurricanes. One of the other things that I didn't mention is that I know we have a caller. All right. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning. I have a concern or observation. On Keon Street, right at the top of our new road, over on the side right by Fast Cash door, there's a pole there, and the structural integrity of that pole is now being compromised because of the weight and wires at the top. I don't know if attention has been paid to that, but if close to the ground, about 2.5 feet from the ground, the front of the pole start bulging, the back of the pole start cracking. So I think it's something that I need to be checked out. I looked on it, I was looking for, because most of the pole have numbers on them now, but there wasn't any number on that particular pole, as far as I can see. So that is something that needs to be checked out, because if that break and fall, it can injure persons and cause accidents, can probably kill persons, right? So I think that's something that needs to be checked out ASAP.
Thank you, caller, for being vigilant and reporting this poll. I'll forward it on to our planning manager and ensure that something is done about that. We really want the public to help us to police and monitor our electrical grid. So thank you so much for that, caller. Do we have any more callers? We don't. All right. I'm going to begin to wrap up this morning's program about hurricane preparation by saying to you as simple as it is, prepare. Prepare for hurricanes. And we know right now it's not the best time. It really would not be a good time right now to have a hurricane with the climate that we're in as it relates to the pandemic, our global health crisis, COVID-19. And as I'm telling you to prepare for hurricane season, I want to tell you to do what it takes to remain safe. Become informed whether or not you want to use the pharmaceutical options. Become informed so that you can make an informed decision. And even if you don't wish to do that, it is very important for you to protect yourself by wearing masks, by sanitizing, by avoiding crowds. We've been doing this for over a year. And now is the time when it is important for you to really buckle down, clamp down, and engage in these practices. We want to see everybody safe. We want to see everyone for a very long time. And at SKELEC, we wouldn't have it any other way. We love our customers. We want to thank you for tuning into our radio program today. As I would have mentioned, my name is Patrice Harris, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye-bye.
PowerTalk, SKELEC's new electrifying 15-minute radio program, features on ZIZ every first Wednesday of each month. Tune in for the latest information on what's happening at SKELEC. Learn more about doing business with us and the services we offer. PowerTalk, powered by SKELEC.
Every first and third Wednesday at 9:30 a.m.
At The Cable, we know being local means supporting our